It has been my wish for a long time to come to Ahmedabad to see the good work which is being done here now for 5 decades. I've been earlier speaking at the inauguration of the NTC, the revived mill at Rajnagar, and I was mentioning there that the next port of call for me will be this great institute, the National Institute of Design. When we look at the history, which you are more versed with than me, it was conceived well, again, because of the vision, enthusiasm, and commitment of India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He was not only a stalwart of the freedom struggle, but a great visionary too, realizing the potential of our people, the creativity of our Indian minds and hands too, and also the opportunities that India could create for itself and also beckon the rest of the world in what we are capable of, as we have demonstrated over a long period of time of creating. And it was the couple, Charles Davis and Wayne. I remember talking in 2009 at a national convention on design. And as I was driving to the venue, I was glancing through some pages which you kept in my folder. This time, as you would have seen, I got to see some papers as I was called to speak. So I had no time to look at what actually was put on the table. That's not the fault of Pradyumna Vyas, though. But from what little I know, designing as such embraces a vast spectrum. Ordinarily, people would associate design from what they see in a poster, in a fabric, in what you wear. And those looking beyond that would look at buildings, look at industrial designing, automobiles, furniture. So whether it's a toy or a chair, or a glass or a brassware, and you move on to more sophisticated things, is the creativity which is reflected, and that also is very motivating. I've also seen that very many eminent Indians, our leaders, not only the political leaders, prime ministers and others, but the leaders of the industry have also been here, and the NID has received visitors from abroad. After India's independence, fortunately, we had a leader who thought of future and made very determined efforts to invest in this country's future through the institutions which came up in the decade of 50s and early 60s, like the NID in 1961. It's very important for us to reconnect and recall that it was in a short period of time when this country built institutions after independence. There was scarcity of resources, challenges were many, the country had been exploited, suppressed, colonized for centuries. There were very few in percentage terms who were literate. We emerged as an independent nation, though ancient civilization as a bruised country, yet confident of itself and its future. But it was that decade which actually has changed India from what it is today, to my mind. The IITs, Indian Institutes of Technology, the Indian Institutes of Management, the Indian Institutes of Nuclear Science, Space Science, the Indian Institute of Science, Institutes of Architecture. And even when we look at literature and art, from Sahitya Kala Academy to Narik Kala Academy, to the institutions of modern art, they all came up during that period. And those sons and daughters of India who were fortunate to access these institutions surprised the world. Because of the lack of opportunities in this country, owing to the challenges which were many and some of which I refer to, many went abroad. A phenomenon which has been referred to as brain drain from law. Within our lifetimes, my generation, which was born a few years after independence, has been fortunate to see both the emergence of these institutions and those who stepped out becoming global leaders in the field of science, information technology, communication technology, and in industrial designing, and many more areas. But returning back, and those who are coming out of the institutions staying back. This country today offers many more opportunities than what we had maybe a quarter of a century ago. Today India is once again investing in the institutions, building new ones, in addition to what we had created. Doubling the number of IIMs and IITs, building new triple ITs, thousands, 30,000 to be precise, the skills training centers, 15,000 polytechnics and more. Launching many national initiatives, from one National Institute of Design, our wish and commitment to take the number to 5. Prime Minister recently has laid the foundation of another NID in Jorhat. I was told by Director Pradyuman Vyas that the new campus will be ready in Bangalore too, and very soon. So there are two important institutions where the number is going from 1 to 5. Or 5 more, here 4 more. We had only one National Institute of Science in Bangalore, which is like a university in itself. But for a country of 1.2 billion, these one institutions were far too inadequate. We are going to set up 5 more National Institutes of Science too. So why I connected with the 50s and early 60s was to have a proper and the right comprehension of what impact the present efforts will have 4 decades down the line. Many people will say that this number is also not adequate for the Republic of India, given the fact that we are a very young nation, not in terms of the over 6 decades that we have celebrated as an independent nation after emerging from the shadows of colonization, but also given the demographic profile of India. In a world which is ever changing, India is blessed to have majority, more than 2/3 of our people are young. There are many countries who have seen growth, development, and explosion of technologies, but there the demographic dividend has peaked. India, for the next 3 decades at least, if not more, will reap the demographic dividend. And that's where, when you talk of investing in institutions, as I said, it's investing in the country's future. Because the young people are not only aspirational, idealistic, but they also have the enthusiasm to give more of their time and effort if they are motivated enough, and if the state and the society gives them the encouragement and the opportunities. Many of us may not see that change in our lifetime, as I said, of brain drain and the reversal. But surely, many of you, particularly the students here, young people, you will see this happening in your lifetime. That in this century, because of the good work which will be done by the people who work in these institutions, because it's not only the machines, it's the mind. This computer did not invent itself. Apple did not invent itself for the iPods and the iPads. It's the human mind which is the most creative machine. Your imagination, your thinking. And that is in every field. I only named one. But when we look at the changes that we have seen in the last 2 decades, India was able to overcome a huge and painful baggage of history. We were not the only country. There are many more who were also similarly suppressed and colonized, with one major, whether you call it an accident of history or development of history, that was the Industrial Revolution. The technologies which came riding that wave and subsequently changed the world. The fate of many countries for the better, the fate for a majority of the people who inhabit the planet Earth, not for good. But this was the time when we straddled that big divide, technological divide, to access the new technologies that came with this new wave of IT and communications. And another wave I can see coming, perhaps in a decade, within this decade, the name of clean technologies and green technologies. I'm sure that what we have been able to demonstrate will be able to withstand the challenges and ensure that we fulfill our rightful aspiration to be a global leader in the 21st century world. Adhuman was mentioning about the projects that you are doing. I've seen some of the literature. You have a very good director. And I'm sure it's not only the director, you need a good faculty too. Which you have. Because this institute has made its name respectfully acknowledged nationally and globally. But you can do much. So projects which you're doing in the other developing countries, particularly in Africa and Asia, there's a lot of similarity. When we're looking at some of the designs which matter to the common people, people who are less empowered in the villages, particularly the artisans, the women. So it's important to help them to preserve the ancient craft, the rich traditions which all our countries have had. At the same time, to empower them more by introducing new designs. What becomes an imperative then for big institutions to create a synergy? So what is being done in the NDI, the work which is done in the FDDI in leather, the work which is done in the various National Institutes of Fashion Technology, there has to be a greater synergy. I hope it is there. We have a problem. And that's, I think, not because of any lack of intent or desire to engage more. Somehow we've seen in different sectors, and digressing from here, from the institutions, mindset to work in silos. So the coordination and the synthesis which should be there sometimes is weak, which we should do more. We live in a world which is interconnected, which is interdependent, where opportunities and challenges travel with the same speed as capital and the flow of ideas and the flow of information. So what you do in other countries, I'm sure, would be respected. At the same time, we also learn by engaging with others. India has the capacity, despite the turbulence which the world has seen in the last few years. I don't think that the global economy has emerged from this worst recession of the last 7 decades, which came in 2008-9. It's the 5th year continuing, irrespective of what any economist or analyst may say. The recovery has hardly been there. It is weak, it's wobbly. Some of our countries have rebounded quickly, but we need to remain alert. At the same time, not to be demotivated by challenges which will keep on coming, but to have the commitment and confidence in ourselves that we can weather many storms and achieve what in our mind is our shared destiny and our national goals. I wish each one of you the very best. I hope I'll come again soon to spend more time, particularly with the students, to talk to you people. Thank you.